Nigga, all your dad, homie. I don't give a fuck who I'm talking about. All of them.
Talking about?
You
What you
ain't your
talking
dad,
about?
homie.
Bro, not surprised.
Told on his girl, bro.
Not surprised.
6ix9ine just about to tell on anybody, huh?
What's your definition of a snitch? Let's start there.
A snitch is somebody, I feel like a snitch will do anything to get out of a situation. You know what I'm trying to say? Like a snitch will get faced with something and will just give up their mother, their brother, everybody, their whole camp, just to...
699's girl is gone, taken out in cold blood, and the whole city won't stop whispering about it. Brand new footage just leaked, catching him right before the chaos erupted, and fans are convinced his very own words lit the spark for the ops to pull the trigger. On August 17th, 2025, hip-hop was rocked by a tragedy that didn't even feel real. As the first light broke over the concrete jungle, 29-year-old Dominican stunner Ariela Langosta, bartender, influencer, and rising name.
Hold on, though.
When you took the stand, or when you testified,
What I fold on?
when you snitched.
All right, so let me ask you something. If you was in that position, what you would have done?
For me, you gotta understand.
Nah, I don't want to answer the question.
I would never tell.
All right, so this is what I'm saying. If you was in that position, you would have did that time.
Was discovered lifeless inside her car along the Cross County Parkway in Mount Vernon. The scene left everyone frozen. But what really had the streets buzzing was a connection to one of rap's most polarizing names, Tekashi 6ix9ine, and the chilling thought that his never-ending drama may have paved the way for her tragic end. To grasp just how wild this all is, you got to know who Ariela really was. She wasn't just some girl dropping cute selfies online. She was a whole wave in New York's nightlife. With 551,000 Instagram followers and another 115,000 on TikTok, Ariela wasn't chasing clout. She was shaping it. Her presence, her dancing, her modeling. She had the kind of magnetism you couldn't scroll past. But beyond the flashing lights and viral clips, Ariela was plugged into the same high-stakes networks where rappers, hustlers, and influencers collide. A deadly mix of money, ego, and power. Working in hotspots like Icon New York and Starlets, she lived in clubs where the shine always came with shadows, and where street bosses, celebs, and social stars moved side by side. These weren't ordinary hangouts. These were pressure cooker environments where one look, one word, could blow the whole room.
Ask you something, and and like I said, my respect to the West Coast. You never lacking, right?
Never.
So what happened to the niggas that lack? Let's bring up Nipsey Hussle. You think he said, yo, will never come up to me because I'm... No, bro, it happened to the best of them.
Yes.
Hold on.
You're absolutely right.
Hold on. So what you gonna say, Nipsey?
That cocktail of fame, money, and tension, when it boils over, it doesn't just burn careers, it can take lives in an instant. The night before everything unraveled tells a bone-chilling story once you know how it ended. On August 16th, 2025, Ariela was still live on Instagram, vibing inside Icon New York, the same spot where she built her hustle. Her stories showed her glowing, laughing, sipping, dancing like the night belonged to her. She looked untouchable, like nothing could dim her shine. But nobody knew those clips would turn haunting, the final snapshot of a woman whose life was hours away from being cut short in the coldest way possible. And here's where it gets messy. Investigators, fans, even haters are all pointing fingers, scrambling to figure out what really went down. To make sense of it, you got to rewind to 6ix9ine's history of flipping when the pressure hits. That track record suddenly feels too relevant once you see how he reacted to Ariela's slaying. A viral no-jumper clip lays it out raw. His instant willingness to cooperate with police, even when it's tied to people close to him. The host's reaction said it all. This wasn't loyalty, it was survival. And in the culture, that kind of move gets nothing but side-eye. This isn't just about one relationship that went left. It's about a pattern. 4 years, 6ix9ine has been branded as quick to hand over information the second heat comes down.
But what's the point, though?
All right then, so King Von is a solid, and he got killed, right? And then poked out and put 5 in him, right? And he's dead, right? So King Von died lacking.
You hurt my feelings.
No. Hear what I'm saying?
May he rest in
King
peace, man.
Von died lacking. Nipsey died lacking. Pop Smoke died lacking.
Right.
Can't lack.
No, you can't.
All right.
Killer be killed, and he's...
Entire breakdown videos exist just to show how the streets read that behavior. And that's why when whispers spread about why Ariello became a target, people don't just see tragedy. They see it through the lens of Tekashi's past, his choices, and the long shadow they cast. His so-called reputation for snitching keeps creeping back into the spotlight. The connection between Ariello and Tekashi's 6ix9ine has become the centerpiece of all this speculation, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. The nature of their bond is one of the most hotly debated angles in this case, with insiders pushing stories that completely clash. Some insist Ariella was his girl, while others claim 6ix9ine always called her his sister, framing it as a platonic but deep connection. That contradiction doesn't feel random. It screams secrecy. In 6ix9ine's world, acknowledging someone publicly can be just as dangerous as exposing them. And with Ariello, one thing was obvious. This wasn't just a casual friendship. Their ties ran deeper, and the receipts prove it. She wasn't some shadow in the background. Ariella popped up front and center in his Whopper video with Angel Dior, Liar, and Bolin 47. That wasn't a blink and you miss it cameo. It was a moment that lit up the screen, cementing her as part of Tekashi's orbit in a way the streets couldn't ignore. Even more telling, their 2023 outing at the Toga Room in New York. The two stepped into nightlife side by side, sparking whispers of closeness while still keeping things low-key. It was a kind of move that screamed connection without spelling it out. And that's exactly why the timing of her death feels so chilling. By 2025, Tekashi wasn't the same rainbow-haired troll clowning online for clout. He was a man boxed in by restrictions, with every public step carrying serious risk. His life by then looked more like a cage than a stage. After a 45-day stretch in federal custody in late 2024 for violating supervised release, he was slapped with tight probation, house arrest, ankle monitor, no international travel, and a long list of behavioral rules that had him on lockdown. Then came July 2025 when he pled guilty to drug charges after a March raid on his Florida mansion turned up MDMA, cocaine, and more. With sentencing set for September, every move he made was under a microscope, which means showing face in New York nightlife wasn't just unlikely, it could have detonated his whole legal standing. And yet, Ariello's death is now entangled with his chaos, his enemies, and the trail of bad blood he left behind by flipping from street-certified rapper to government cooperator. And it gets darker. Some unreleased footage shows Tekashi breaking down the mindset that made him fold to the feds. In the clip, he's defensive, daring anyone to say what they would have done in his shoes. That mentality matters when you ask a chilling question. Did being close to him put Ariella directly in the line of fire? Because Tekashi's evolution, from Daniel Hernandez to 6ix9ine to one of the most infamous cooperating witnesses hip-hop has ever seen, wasn't just a story. It was a giant target painted on his back. And the threats weren't just internet chat either. In February 2025, a fake casket with rival King Von's name was delivered to his Florida home, a message that his enemies hadn't forgotten. That's why so many believe Ariello's slaying wasn't random at all. It might have been a calculated strike meant to hit Tekashi where it hurt the most. But just when it seemed the puzzle couldn't get any darker, new details surfaced that flipped the entire case upside down. Because the whispers around Ariello's passing stretch far beyond a connection to 6ix9ine. They point to a spiderweb of rivalries, hidden relationships, and dangerous motives that make this tragedy bigger than anyone first imagined.
I'm gonna be honest.
Alpo. We gonna get on Alpo. Yo, shout out my girl, baby. I love you. Listen, I gotta talk about it. I gotta bring it up. I'm sorry if I put. I'm about to fire Harlem up. My girl's baby father, Charlie C, is a Mac Ball of blood.
Okay, what that mean?
He's a Mac Ball of blood that Jack kill all rats. The Mac Ball Jack kill all.
What makes the story even darker is a pattern that keeps haunting 6ix9ine in the past. His decision to roll with the feds wasn't just some desperate one-off move when he was boxed in. It's been his go-to survival play every time the walls closed in. And that paints a brutal picture, because for his enemies, anyone close to him, like Ariella, starts to look like fair game. As detectives unravel Ariella Langosta's final moments, the narrative coming together is far from simple. This wasn't mistaken identity. This wasn't random hood violence. It's a layered tale straight out of a grimy street saga, with twists and betrayals that feel scripted for chaos. From gossip in the hood to wild social media theories to whispers deep inside nightlife circles, every version clashes, each claiming to be the truth. To see why these theories caught fire, you have to look at Tekashi himself and the way he talks about survival. In one chilling clip, he spells out his ruthless philosophy. He calls his approach smarter than the keep-it-real code that left so many rappers dead. To him, snitching isn't betrayal, it's strategy. He frames it as survival of the fittest, bragging that he outlasted the so-called real ones who ended up in coffins. That mindset is a fuel behind one of the loudest theories circulating on blogs, in the streets, and across international headlines, that Ariella wasn't even the intended target. Instead, people are saying she was collateral damage, caught in a storm meant for her rumored boyfriend, Natadia Cardia. And that twist changes everything. According to reports, Cardia isn't just some random name in the nightlife scene. He's being painted as a suspected gang boss with a shady record tied to robbery schemes the streets call Lopei. The details surrounding this angle are disturbing. Word is, Ariella was behind the wheel of a Mercedes G-Wagon with Cardia in the passenger seat when bullets rained down. She was killed instantly, yet Cardia walked away untouched. Even darker are the whispers that Ariella allegedly lined up Colombians for him to rob, which could have triggered a deadly retaliation. If true, the whole story flips. From Ariella being innocent collateral caught in Tekashi's mess, to her being tied up in moves that brought heat straight to her door. Police later confirmed someone was taken in for questioning right after the shooting, with multiple outlets identifying that person as Cardia himself. His background, past arrests, and claims of slipping into the U.S. under shady circumstances only adds fuel to the theory that he was a true target in a carefully calculated hit. And if that's the case, Ariella's death becomes even more tragic.
Respect gangsters, bro. But you gonna see me, you gonna respect me.
Hold on, let me break something down to you, right?
I don't even mean to change the mood, but 6ix9ine, we all know about the perception.
A young woman entangled in two worlds colliding and paying the ultimate price for secrets far bigger than anyone first realized. Cardia's role throws the whole story into chaos in a way mainstream outlets won't even touch. If Ariella was truly tied to both 6ix9ine and Cardia, it sparks explosive questions. Were those relationships crossing over? And if they were, did that double connection put her in the crosshair from more than one angle? That's where the second major theory gains steam, especially inside hip-hop circles. The idea that Ariella's death wasn't about Cardia at all. It was about payback aimed directly at Tekashi. His enemies have never let go of 2019, when he flipped on the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods in court and earned that forever snitch label. And Tekashi hasn't been shy about it either. In his own words, he's compared himself to rappers who didn't make it, but with a controversial twist, saying the only reason he's alive is because he was smart enough to play the game differently, even if it meant betraying the street code. His cold philosophy, that street credibility doesn't mean a thing if you're dead, shook people to the core, and it frames Ariella's case in a way that feels even darker. Some believe the bullets weren't meant for her at all, but for him, with old vendettas finally catching up. That theory exploded after his emotional Instagram tribute, where he called her his sister. With rumors of them being more than that, his words hit different. To some fans, the post didn't just sound like grief. It sounded like guilt, like he knew his baggage might have dragged danger straight into her world. But then comes a twist. The timing doesn't line up clean. In 2025, Tekashi was still under strict probation, locked on house arrest with electronic monitoring. If he was physically in New York with Ariella, it would have been a major violation. That fact makes people wonder, was he even there? Or was the hit a symbolic strike, sending a chilling message by taking someone close to him instead? And just when that theory started to settle, a third one set social media on fire. The idea that Ariella wasn't just a bystander. Some claim she was targeted for allegedly feeding information to the feds. That informant angle mirrors the same stain Tekashi's carried since day one, suggesting Ariella might have moved the same way, sliding intel about her circle to law enforcement. The whispers hit even harder when you line them up with Tekashi's own public mindset. He's been loud about it. Snitching, to him, isn't betrayal, it's survival. And if Ariella shared that philosophy, some believe it may have signed her death warrant in a world where silence is sacred. Maybe Tekashi's way of thinking rubbed off on her, making enemies see her as fair game. Even without hard proof, the streets don't wait for paperwork. Sometimes, just a perception of betrayal is enough to spark deadly justice. And that's where the story gets even bigger. Some are tying Ariella's death to the wider wave of gang violence ripping through New York. Around that same time, a Brooklyn nightclub erupted in a hail of bullets. For shooters, 42 shell casings, chaos everywhere. NYPD confirmed it was gang-related, and even Mayor Adams rushed crisis teams to keep the city from spiraling into retaliation. Officially, there's no evidence linking that massacre to Ariello's case, but the timing was suspicious enough that people started connecting the dots on their own. Here's the kicker. 6ix9ine's name is so heavy in street politics that hitting someone close to him might have been the cleanest way to send a brutal message without ever touching him directly. He's too closely watched by feds, too boxed in by probation. But Ariella, she was accessible, and her death landed like a direct strike on him while keeping the shooters out of law enforcement's immediate crosshairs. What makes it all even murkier is the silence from officials. No word on how many shots were fired, no timeline released, no forensic findings made public. Just a haunting void where the truth should be. That blackout of information cracked the door wide open for conspiracy theories, street rumors, and wild narratives to take over. With no official word, speculation started speaking louder than the facts. Which leaves a real question hanging. What actually went down that tragic morning? Because when you dig into the investigation behind Ariella Langosta's killing, the official story is clashing hard with what's spreading across hip-hop blogs, social media, and the streets. What's unfolding now looks less like a clean case file, and more like law enforcement scrambling to contain a high-profile homicide tangled in 6ix9ine's messy reputation, and the spotlight that never leaves his name. This case isn't just about Ariella. It's about the nightmare of handling a figure whose presence turns any crime into a circus of theories and headlines. In resurfaced footage, Tekashi himself coldly explains why old-school gangster codes only lead to one outcome: death, not respect. That perspective feels chilling when you stack it against Ariella's reality. And the reminder that Alpo Martinez, a notorious street legend, was once spotted at 6ix9ine's baby shower before his own murder shows how twisted these overlaps can get. Because in this world, cooperating with law enforcement doesn't erase ties. It can create contradictions so dangerous they put you right back in the crosshairs. As for Ariella's case, it's officially in the hands of both the NYPD and Westchester County Police, who labeled it a suspicious homicide. Chief James Luciano confirmed they believe the shooting ties to criminal activity, though the evidence behind that belief remains locked away. That single statement carries weight. It means this wasn't random gunplay. It was targeted, but the silence since then is deafening. No suspects named, no motive revealed, no timeline shared. For a case as high-profile, the blackout is fueling theories that investigators are either treading carefully or hiding details too messy to make public. Even the discovery of Ariella's body adds an eerie layer. Around 8 a.m., she was found slumped lifeless inside her vehicle on the Cross-County Parkway. Multiple outlets reported she'd taken a bullet to the head, but the exact details, how many shots, what kind of weapon, and the sequence of events, are all sealed tight. And that location raises eyebrows. The Cross-County Parkway isn't some back alley. It's a major artery between the Bronx and Westchester, packed with cars and lined with cameras. For a hit to go down there with no clear witnesses or footage suggests one of two things. Either it happened in seconds, or it was timed by people who knew those blind spots better than anyone. Another piece twisting the case is Tekashi's own situation. Heavy speculation claims he was with Ariella when it went down. But legally, that doesn't fit. In 2025, he was strapped with house arrest and an ankle monitor. Him being in New York would have triggered an instant flag. That gap between rumors and reality forces a reset. If Tekashi wasn't even there, then what does it mean? Was this a symbolic strike meant to rattle him through Ariella? Or a case of mistaken identity, with shooters thinking he'd be in the ride? Either way, this wasn't random. The motive stretched deeper. And the threats against 6ix9ine have never stopped. Just months earlier, in February 2025, someone mailed a fake casket to his Florida mansion with rival King Von's name carved into it. A clear, direct warning that his enemies were still circling. Ariella's death could easily be the latest warning shot in that long, ugly war. And the deeper you dig into Tekashi's twisted philosophy about survival and loyalty, the clearer it becomes why anyone tied to him ends up in the line of fire. Was Mel Murder really running around with Trey W? I mean, was Mel Murder side by side with Jim Jones back in 2009? Yeah, he was. When Jim was doing bowling, Mel was right there. And that context matters, because 6ix9ine in final remarks on the Alpo Martinez situation lay bare the hypocrisy he sees in hip-hop. He doesn't tiptoe. He calls it out directly. That boldness explains why he's collected enemies like no other. See, 6ix9ine thrives on confrontation, exposing contradictions, questioning street credibility, pulling masks off. That makes him a lightning rod for hate. And by extension, anyone even loosely tied to him becomes a potential target. That's the brutal truth of proxy violence. It's not always about hitting the main figure. It's about striking someone close enough to shake him without ever touching the heavily guarded target. And that's exactly how today's street wars operate. Even commentary from the no-jumper host drive the point home. 6ix9ine's reputation for cooperating with the feds is so ingrained that it paints a target on not just him, but everyone around him. In the streets, that kind of label doesn't fade. It's permanent. It's unforgivable. And the craziest part? 6ix9ine doesn't avoid the topic. He doubles down. He openly asks others what they would have done in his shoes. That defiance is part of what makes him polarizing. He's both defensive and vulnerable, and anyone riding with him inherits all that risk. That's why his tributes to Ariella hit different. They came at a time when he was already waiting on sentencing for a July 2025 drug plea. Any emotional statement tied to her was going to fuel speculation from both investigators and the streets. So was it raw grief breaking through his usual caution? Or was it a strategic move to distance himself from suspicion? The debate is still wide open. Meanwhile, the community's grief has been massive. Venues like Icon New York and Starlets, where Ariella lit up nightlife, poured out tributes on Instagram. The Dominican community worldwide has been mourning her, flooding her socials with prayers, memories, and heartbreak. But behind all the love, the facts stay cold. On August 17, 2025, Ariella Langosta was found shot inside a vehicle on the Cross County Parkway. Authorities say it was a targeted hit tied to criminal activity. No arrests, no suspects, no confirmed motive, just silence. And silence, in a case this loud, only makes a mystery grow. So what do you think? Was Ariella caught in the crossfire of 6ix9ine's enemies, or were her own ties more complicated than anyone realized? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share this video. I'll catch you on the next one.